My friends, what you're hearing now is not the sound of routine exercise, it's the sound of a radar alert signaling the end of an era. Imagine you're an elite pilot sitting in the cockpit of an F-35, a technological marvel worth $100 million. You've been trained to be the best, the Top Gun, the lone knight who rules the skies. But suddenly your augmented reality visor is flooded with icons. It's not 2 or 5, it's 50 Chinese J-20 fighters coming your way in a full saturation formation. And your heart races, adrenaline floods your system, but the math is cold and cruel. Are you overwhelmed? No matter how brilliant you are, the limit is no longer your talent, the limit is the physics of quantity. Because for decades, Western military doctrine put all its bets on the lone warrior, the one-man cavalry. We believed that a handful of ultra-sophisticated aircraft piloted by exceptional humans could defeat any large army. But in the Pacific theater of operations, where distances are vast and China's industrial capacity is massive, quantity has become a quality of its own. And the United States realized that the human being is not the problem, but the bottleneck. The processing limit of the biological brain under combat pressure is the point where strategy collapses. That's why what has just been revealed in Texas is not just a drone. It's the XBAT, the ultimate safeguard of American air supremacy. Because for decades, air superiority depended on the individual hero and prohibitively expensive machines. The real consequence of revealing the XBAT is that now the lone manned fighter is no longer a lone target, but becomes the commander of an invisible, autonomous, and lethal legion, where the cost of destruction is transferred to titanium and silicon, preserving human life and strategy. And this is not a concept for the distant future. We're talking about the Group 5 prototype from Shield AI, the best kept secret of the Frisco facility. In Texas, it has just come out of the shadows to prove that the era of manned aircraft as the lone spearhead is over. And to understand why the XBAT is the game changer that Beijing and Moscow fear so much, you need to look at the DNA of those who built it. Shield AI is not a slow and bureaucratic defense contractor. It's led by a team that seems straight out of an elite script. On one side, Brandon Seng, former Navy service member who served on the USS Pearl Harbor, saw firsthand in war how the lack of autonomy and dependence on fragile communications cost soldiers their lives. And on the other side, the Vice President of Engineering, Armor Harris, a SpaceX veteran who led the development of Starlink and the reusable Falcon 9 rocket. They didn't just bring technology, they brought the reusable rocket mindset and aggressive innovation into the cockpit. The XBAT is technically classified as a Group 5 drone, the heaviest and most capable category of unmanned systems. We're talking about a 600-kilogram jet with a wingspan of 12 meters and a length of 8 meters. It's compact enough that 3 units take up less space on an aircraft carrier deck than a single F-18 Super Hornet fighter. However, it's robust enough to carry a combat load that would make many manned aircraft look like toys. But the real brain of this beast is the HiveMate software. The HiveMate isn't just an ordinary autonomous pilot, it's a collaborative combat artificial intelligence. It allows entire swarms of this machine to carry out complex missions without the need for human operators controlling every movement with a joystick. It processes billions of variables per second, making tactical decisions in milliseconds that would take a human pilot seconds to process. By integrating SpaceX's development agility with the decentralized intelligence of the HiveMate, the United States has created a platform that eliminates the need for years of pilot training and extremely expensive life support infrastructure, enabling the projection of air power on an industrial scale with a fraction of the human risk. The schedule is aggressive. The first VTOL flight is planned for the end of 2026. This is the test that will decide who has the right to set the rules in the skies in 2030. China and Russia have invested trillions in fifth-generation fighter jets like the J-20 and the S-157. The United States has as well. But these machines have a logistical Achilles heel. They depend on perfect runways and massive air bases, otherwise on 100,000-ton aircraft carriers that cost billions. In a real war in the Pacific, these runways are the first targets. A single well-placed cruise missile can turn an entire airbase into an expensive scrapyard. The XBAT solves this with VTOL technology, vertical takeoff and landing through the tile sting concept. Unlike the F-35B or the Harrier, which use complex systems of directional nozzles and lift fans that weigh tons and cost a fortune in maintenance, the XBAT takes off and lands on its own tail. It uses an LRV, a launch and recovery vehicle, which works as a mobile platform. The drone is positioned vertically, starts its jet engine, and takes off straight into the sky in just 25 seconds. It doesn't need heavy landing gear. It doesn't need an internal auxiliary power unit because the LRV itself provides the initial charge to start the engine. While Russian and Chinese fighter jets need infrastructure which is vulnerable and can be wiped off the map in minutes, the XBAT can operate from a fishing boat, from a truck on a dirt road, or from a clearing in the jungle, ensuring that American air power is ubiquitous and impossible to silence by a preemptive strike. And to ensure reliability, Shield A made a masterful decision. They used the General Electric F-110 engine. Yes, my friends, the same engine that powers the F-16 and the F-15. It's an old engine, but it's indestructible and cheap to maintain. This allowed the XBAT to reach speeds of Mach 1.2 over 1,000 kilometers per hour without the prohibitive cost of developing a new engine from scratch. It's the brilliance of simplicity against fragile complexity. And finally, we're going to talk about ownership. The most important part of modern warfare, the economy, the money, the cash. Because this is where the system runs out of steam. A fifth-generation fighter jet costs at least $100 million. Yes, with the F-22, for example, costing $150 million. The XBAT was designed to cost a tenth of that amount over its life cycle.
That's not just cost savings.
It's a change in the math of death. In modern warfare, the winner is the one who can saturate the battle space with more targets than the enemy has missiles to hit. The XBAT operates as the force multiplier. It has two internal weapons bays the same size as the F-35's bays. It can carry long-range air-to-air missiles like the AM-174 or air-to-surface missiles like the LRASM, which are long-range anti-ship missiles. But its main function is to be a missile magnet. In combat, the XBATs go in first. They force China or Russia to spend their very expensive and limited missiles, shooting down low-cost autonomous drones. If China built 200 J-20 fighters and thinks it dominates the South China Sea, well, now the United States could launch 2,000 of these XBATs. They will deplete their missile stockpiles trying to shoot down titanium machines, while the human pilot remains hundreds of kilometers away, coordinating the massacre, with the calm of someone playing chess against an opponent who has already lost their queen. China's numerical advantage has just met its natural predator, America's autonomous mass. It seems that the United States military has woken up. And let's not forget to give credit to the tough guys of Ukraine. They showed the world how to defeat a military power. But make no mistake, China, Iran, Russia, all of them are making the same bet. In addition, the XBAT has an operational range of 3,700 kilometers. It can fly twice the distance of a manned fighter, staying on patrol for hours, waiting for the exact moment to strike. It makes China's Great Missile Wall an obsolete investment because the cost of shooting down an XBAT is higher than the cost of making a new one. The greatest fear of any modern commander is a blackout environment. Total electronic warfare where GPS is jammed and radio communications are cut off. Most current drones would become floating scrap in these conditions. But the XBAT was built for MCON. Emission control. Thanks to the hive mind, it can navigate and fight without relying on external signals. It sees the battlefield, recognizes targets, and coordinates attacks with other drones using only passive sensors and onboard intelligence. It's the perfect tool to clean up the backyard. Before the F-35 or B-21 Raider enters hostile territory, the XBATs go in to hunt down the defense systems. Air defense systems like the Russian S-400 and China's HQ-9, they saturate the radars, identify the missile batteries, and annihilate them. They are the titanium shield that allows humans to come in only to deliver the final checkmate in an already pacified environment. The ability to operate autonomously in signal-denied environments makes China's and Russia's manned fighter jets high-value and relevant targets, because they will be blinded and overwhelmed by a legion that doesn't need radio to know where to strike. The XBAT is not just a plane, it's a paradigm shift. It turns aerial warfare into an industrial process of attrition, where the West has the technological advantage and software agility. The geopolitical summary is simple. The system has changed. The era of lone Top Guns, the movie heroes who decided wars with their own skill and individual courage, but who also lost their lives in extremely violent battles, is coming to an end. We are entering the era of swarm commanders. Power now doesn't belong to whoever has the best trained pilot, but to whoever has the smartest, largest, and cheapest autonomous legion to produce. Write this down: cheap to produce. The XBAT is proof that American innovation, when applied with the SpaceX mindset, is unbeatable. Shielder and the Pentagon are sending a direct message to Zhongdanai. You can try to outspend us, but you can't outsmart us. The XBAT is the safeguard that ensures that on the day the skies stop flying the American flag, there will still be only one setting the rules. The future won't be manned. The future will be a swarm. Now I want to know from you, has the board been taken over by a legion of titanium and intelligence? Do you prefer an army of human heroes who can die at any moment and take decades to replace, or a legion of titanium that never gets tired, never hesitates, and can be produced by the thousands on a single assembly line? And I have one more question. Would you rather send your son to win the war or a robot? Comment here now. Is it swarm or cavalry? Son or robot? I want to know who here has already awakened to the new reality of aerial warfare. Now, to continue our discussion without censorship in more depth than we have time for here, we created our intelligence bunker. There are more than 3,000 analysts who fund the analyses, the data, the information that we bring here. The QR code is on the screen, in the first pinned comment, and in the description right below. Without censorship, there we can name names and show documents, which we can't do here on YouTube. And to stay connected with you, we created our series and movies channel with fantastic recommendations, a curated selection for you to enjoy with your family without any culture worship, without whining, giving you insights on what to watch over the weekend. Link in the description, in the pinned comment, and in the card that appears here. Look, 3 fantastic series that we are recommending. Actually 4, right? Homeland, Tehran, Fauda, which is a wonderful Israeli series that shows the Israeli intelligence services operating inside the world of Islamist extremism against Iran, against Hamas, Hezbollah, and so on. And also, now a tough news series has premiered called Dutton Ranch. You can follow the tips, the analysis, all on our channel. Now it's time for you to fortify your mind. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you next time. See you then.